Hellboy the Crooked Man is a new Hellboy movie that just released on digital a couple of weeks ago. Obviously a big character in the comics, the Dark Horse comics of course, and this one stars Jack Kesey as Hellboy. This is adapting a story called The Crooked Man, and in the Crooked Man comics, Hellboy takes a trip to the Appalachian Mountains. In the Appalachian Mountains, he stumbles across a man who stumbles across a witch, and that witch is part of a bigger story involving a demonic entity known as the Crooked Man. Hellboy, being the paranormal investigator that he is, has to, investigate the paranormal shit, and that leads into a confrontation with the Crooked Man, and thus we have a Hellboy movie. I know what you're thinking. You saw the trailers, you saw the promotion, you're like, this shit looks cheap, it doesn't look good, don't know if I'm interested. Right before the movie was supposed to come out in theaters, the people behind the movie apparently were like, actually, you know what, we're just gonna release this one on digital. So I know what you're thinking, and you know what? Actually, you're kind of right. Like, you can think that. It's okay to think that. It's okay to walk into this movie with low expectations. Why? Because they have set us up to have low expectations. And I'm not gonna lie, since Guillermo del Toro left the Hellboy franchise, the only good Hellboy movies that I have seen since then have been in animated form. The one that came out in 2019, I was just not a huge fan. That being said, Hellboy is one of my favorite characters of all time. Yes, I have read the comics. I'm like the biggest Hellboy fan I know. Regardless if it looks like trash or regardless if I'm excited for it, I'm gonna see it. Why? Because Hellboy. Hellboy's my dog. I gotta support my dog. So the movie actually is not half bad. I actually kind of enjoyed it. For starters, I do think this movie really nailed the tone and the atmosphere of a movie like this and of a story like The Crooked Man. Apparently, the script for this movie was written by Mike Mignola. If you don't know who Mike Mignola is, he is the one who created Hellboy, so it makes sense that they would be following close to his blueprint, his outline for this story. The tone for this movie is very gothic. It's very dark, very supernatural vibes, and it feels weird and eerie and disturbing, and that's how a Hellboy movie with this story is supposed to feel. This movie is also shrouded in darkness for half of it, which I also think adds to it a little bit. In regards to how it's shot, I like the simple, methodical, measured approach that they took to the camera work, the way that they emphasized shadows, and the way that they added a little bit of dream lens action to some of the proceedings. Not saying that it's an amazingly shot movie, but it's shot competently enough that I think that there were some people who knew what they were doing who were filming this movie. It's actually a pretty faithful retelling of The Crooked Man. If you're directly adapting a story, I'm sorry, that shit needs to be like 80% faithful in my opinion, and then you can add some stuff and you can make it your own and you can make it work that way. This movie is definitely very faithful to the Crooked Man comics. It has not just the tone and the aesthetic and the feel, but in terms of the actual panel by panel illustrations, so much classic iconography in this movie, so many classic moments where I feel like I was watching the panels of the comic book being splashed on screen and brought to life. Jack Kesey as Hellboy, he is the thing that's gonna swing the movie or sink it in my opinion, and overall I thought he did a pretty good job. Nobody is ever touching Ron Perlman's portrayal of Hellboy, and I don't think any Hellboy movie, at least not since then, have come close to the brilliance of Guillermo del Toro. But Jack Kesey's really good, he captures the mannerisms, he captures the look, he captures exactly what Hellboy sounds like. His voice does sometimes sound like he's doing like a little bit of a Ron Perlman impression, but overall, I like it. I like the design, I like the look of him, I like how he's talking. I also appreciate that this movie added a little bit of character work in here. Like, it's not just Hellboy following along on this mission and then trying to get shit done. There's actually a personal story for him in here. This actress, whose name unfortunately I can't remember other than Rudolph, like Rudolph is a part of her name in some way, probably her last name. I thought her dynamic and her interplay with Hellboy and the other characters also added something to it. So in the end, I was kind of pleasantly surprised at how much the movie was not a train wreck. Just because the movie wasn't a train wreck, it doesn't mean that some of the cars didn't fall off the tracks along the way to the journey, which is to say, yeah, the movie did have some problems. The main problem with this movie, and the thing that's probably gonna turn some people off, is the budget. Now, I don't know what the exact budget for this movie is. All the budget was carried across on screen in certain parts, though. It's just, there are some parts of this movie that you absolutely believe were filmed with a potato in a shoe. Some parts of this movie where the low budget actually works to their advantage, and it leads to some creative ideas. But overall, it's just hard to watch this movie and not go, damn, they really did not give a damn about giving you guys what you needed to do this. It's shoestring. It's toilet paper budget. Like, I know toilet paper can be expensive, but I'm talking about like Dollar Tree toilet paper where you're not even buying a full like package, you're just buying one roll. I think that this movie suffered a little bit from some inconsistent pacing. There are too many scenes and moments in here where it feels like the story is not really progressing at the rate that it should. There's a lot of scenes where characters are just kind of traveling to and from different places, and it feels like stuff should be happening, but stuff isn't happening. People are gonna call this movie a fan film, and I do think some of that is fair because, you know, it does feel like that while you're watching it. I mean, I've seen my fair share. Fan films can be really good. I've enjoyed a lot of them. I know that that sounds like the whole I'm not racist, I have black friends type of thing, but hopefully it coming from me is more noteworthy. Maybe I should just review a fan film on this channel. Maybe I should start reviewing more of them. Guys, the movie was made with $2 and a dream, and it's definitely not gonna knock your socks off or overly impress anybody watching it. But as a big Hellboy fan, I enjoyed the movie. As a fan of movies in general, I thought it was fine. Hellboy the Crooked Man is not gonna set the world on fire or win any awards, but I thought it was solid, and I'm gonna leave this one in the Daily Planet. Also, if you're looking for some Hellboy comics to read, if you want to get more into the character, I've got a few that I can recommend for you here at the end of the video. Seeds of Destruction is a must. It's kind of like an origin story of sorts for Hellboy and for his destiny. There's also comics like The Wild Hunt. An underrated one is Pancakes. Most people don't even talk about that one. There's another comic called The Corpse that you could check out if you're interested. These are just a few of them. If you want to dip your toes into that well that is Hellboy comics, I got you covered. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel. Stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.